Having a strong booking process is the key to going full-time and being a successful wedding filmmaker. Today, I'll teach you my process and provide a few helpful tips on how you can close more and scale your wedding business. Let's get started. Let me just start by saying the worst thing you can do is send over your pricing up front. And before y'all jump into the comments talking about, well, I want to identify my client, I don't like to say dumbest because that's really harsh, but like, you really should stop doing that. I come from a very strong sales background, working in both commissioned and non-commissioned sales. Hi folks, welcome to Green Chevrolet. My name is Justin Porter. I'd like to take a moment and go. And no matter where I've worked, no matter what the job entailed, they all did the same thing, and that was they trained them on their sales process. Every company had their own way of selling, just as you should with yours. Our sales process is broken down into steps, but each step has a specific goal. I know that sounds confusing, but having a goal for each step provides a clear process that you can stay to, even if the client is price shopping, which doesn't mean they aren't your ideal client. It just means they're budget conscious. Can you blame them? Weddings are expensive. So the first step in our process is lead generation. If you want to learn some powerful ways to market yourself and get more leads, let me know in the comments, because that's definitely where everything starts. So having a good sales process is pointless if you're not getting leads. So when a client reaches out and is interested in our films, they reach out on our website by filling out our contact form. I'm not talking about the nod and things like that, because those are also ways that they can reach out, but most of our traffic comes from our website. This is the biggest area where I see a lot of wedding filmmakers or just wedding vendors in general drop the ball. This needs to be a clear, direct form. You don't need any of the fluff. You don't need to know how many bridal party members they're having. You don't need to know if it's multiple locations. Just get the basics. You mainly just don't want to deter them from filling out this form. If they feel like they're answering 1,000 questions, they're most likely to stop halfway through and never even finish filling out the form. And that could have been your ideal client. Y'all could have been a perfect match, but you sent them away because your form was just too much. We also ask what package they're most likely interested in, because I've learned that a lot of clients, if they're price shopping, just send you a message directly. They skip right past all the packages. So this at least makes them go back up and see which one they might be interested in talking about. So the step is lead generation, and our goal, the entire intention behind the first step of our process, is scheduling a consultation call. Yep, you heard me. It's not selling them anything. My goal is to schedule a consultation call. Every point of communication we have, regardless if we send 1 email or 10, is going to be trying to schedule a time to speak with this client. If y'all are interested in learning how we set up our virtual calls, I'll leave a card up here and drop a link to the video that we did talking about our entire breakdown down in the comments. The reason the goal is to book a consultation call is because it's almost impossible to close over an email. Even if you're only doing phone calls and you're not doing virtual calls, you'll have a much higher closing rate than selling over an email. Do not sell over email. Now, going back to why you should never send your pricing up front. If a client is potentially just price shopping and you send them over your prices because they ask, which almost every client does, that's literally the start of every conversation, is how much do you cost? Then you've just given them all the information that they need and you've officially shot yourself in the foot. They have your numbers, so it's really hard to convince them to talk so that you can build that rapport and convince them to book you. In sales, you learn that when someone wants something really bad, they will find a way to get it, even if it's out of budget. The reality is that everything is always out of budget. People always want to pay less and have the best deal. If it costs $100, they want to pay $75. If it costs $50, they want to pay $25. Once you know and understand that, then you're no longer concerned with budget or price shoppers. At the heart of our sales process, we aren't selling films. Yes, that's what we do. We assume that they've at least seen something of ours that convinced them to inquire. So selling our films at this point is almost pointless. We focus our calls on selling an experience, our JPM experience, which is step 2 of our sales process, consultation calls. The goal for our consultation calls is about building rapport and selling an experience. I want them to end our call and be like, dang, I want that guy at our wedding. Trust me when I say that when they're excited about you, they will find a way to afford you.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
It's important to truly open up and get to know your client. Have fun and listen, like actually listen and take notes. I'll explain why in the next step. Just make sure you're listening. Also, every call, no matter what, unless they specifically say we don't want to book you, then you should assume that they are booking. Why wouldn't you? We end our calls by explaining our pricing and next steps in order to book, like signing the contract and paying the deposit. We ask for the sale by also assuming the sale. Like we'll say something like, would you like us to go ahead and send out the contract so you and your fiance can review it and sign so we can get started in booking with the next steps? Most likely, if they say yes to sending that contract, they are booking. And I know for a fact because every time I hear someone say yes, they book. The next step in my sales process is probably the biggest one yet. So if you don't take anything away from this video, listen and take this one to heart. Follow up. Wedding planning is stressful and most of the time is always being handled by one partner, meaning all emails are likely going to one person. I'm a wedding filmmaker, but the client may be in the process of speaking to multiple vendors and receiving countless emails. Even if you created the best experience on your consultation calls, if your emails aren't being seen, then you're last on the list. We start our follow-up process with an instant email that recaps the highlights from our call. We include the pricing and package that they were interested in, and even if they told us no to sending the contract, we send it anyway. We just slide it right on in there. Just remember when I said to actually listen and take notes during consultation calls? This is so you can use that information and leverage it in your follow-up emails to make it more personable. It shows the client that you do, in fact, listen. If a potential bride tells us her fiance is a crybaby, then in some creative and funny way, we mention it in our follow-up emails. The goal of our follow-ups is either to get them to book or blatantly tell us they're not interested. To make your follow-up process easy, I definitely recommend some sort of CRM like Dubsado, Honeybook. There's a number of different companies who do this, but you can set up an automation system that sends these emails so that you don't ever forget to follow up. I personally have had clients ghost me for months, and out of nowhere, they decided to book because of our follow-up emails. We continue to send relevant information and follow up with our clients because you just never know. They may be booking now and starting the process. They may be paying out of pocket for things and saving up more money. And you just want to make sure your name always falls at the top of that email list. So that's why we continue to send emails until they say, look, Justin, we ain't booking, leave us alone. Now, I know that my process isn't going to work for everyone, and it may not be the best one out there, but at least I hope it gets your mind spinning on what your process is and if it's actually working for you. So to just recap everything, step one is lead generation with a goal and the only intent to schedule a consultation call. Nothing else. Even if they're price shopping, if they're a wedding planner, anything, I want to get the client on a virtual call. That's where the closing happens. Step two is consultations, and the goal is selling the experience. My sales process and what I'm selling is not wedding films, I'm selling a wedding experience. Step three is having a strong follow-up game, like strong. I would recommend starting with something similar to this structure and have a clear goal for every step. Hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments below. If you're also interested in learning how we set up our virtual consultation calls, like I mentioned, I'll leave a link to it up here somewhere in the card and down in the description. We cover everything from all the equipment and gear that we use and how we actually run it and link it through Google Meet. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out.